Hey everybody, Dave Clark, aka the Pattern Guy. We're up in a pattern shop today. We're gonna do a cool job, fairly on the east side. Something you guys haven't seen before. Like I said, when I first started this a couple years ago, I want to try to get you guys into all the different aspects of pattern making. What we're gonna be doing today is we have a aluminum match plate that actually belongs to the train club that I belong to, and we need to add some stock to it. So there's a couple of ways we could go about this. We only need a couple castings, probably put some Bondo on there, build it up a little bit and that, but I'm going to show you the old style traditional way. It's called shingling, okay? That's one of the things we did. So we'll get to that in a minute. So there's a couple ways we could go about this. We could put some, make a little mold, pour some urethane on them, or we could just build it up with Bondo. I think we got to make a dozen castings. I think it's a 2-end job, so we only have to make like 6 molds. We could do it that way, but what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how this process is done, and you know, for one, you know, thing, it's kind of a learning experience. Plus, it's a nice match plate, so we want to do this thing the nice way. Okay, so we'll get set up to get going on that. I'll show you the process of shingling once I get ready. Hang tight, guys. Okay, guys, we're going to get started doing this project here, okay? So we got the pattern, which is here. Let me lift this up and show it to you. Or actually, it should be on the other camera here. Got the other camera view going, so we'll get that on that view. Anyhow, we got, what we're going to do is, there's 4 spots on the end. This actually, what this is, let me explain this, what this is too. It's called a frog, okay? This is where the switches on the tracks go. All right, this is a piece of the tracks called a frog, okay? So these tabs at the end here, see how that one broke off? That one there, we're gonna have to extend this one up about another 1/8 of an inch, make it thicker, okay? And that'll fit actually in the track, okay? See that? See that little bit of a gap there? Then it's still going to be a little bit of a gap there too. We're not going to fill it all the way in. We're just going to add 1/8 of an inch, beef this up a little bit, give it a little bit more drill holes so that they can have some bolt surface there, okay? So how we're going to go about this is I determine we're just going to put 1/8 of an inch on there. That's my determination. That's what I have here too. So I did find a piece of 1/8 inch brass stock, okay? So you can clean it up a little bit. This has been sitting for years and years. I don't know how long. Just take a piece of either emery. You know, it's traditional. Whenever you do metal work, you usually use emery. And I got so much like just woodworking, sandpaper laying around. I'll just grab a piece of that. I do have some emery too. But all right, get some Dicom, paint it up. What we're going to do, there's several ways we could do this. We could just get the measurements right off the pattern and we could measure it up. Or the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it a little bit on the lazy side here, I think. What I'm going to do is just make a little template out of cardboard. And then we're going to do a rough cut and then we'll put them back on. After we cut them out on the bandsaw, what we're going to do is we're going to lay them back on the pattern itself, and then we're going to go ahead and take the hook scribe them out, and I'll show you how to do that, okay? All right, so I got that. We're going to let it dry for a little bit. In between, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cleaning up the pattern a little bit because there's some molding release on this. Now, I don't know what kind to use. It's sticking on there pretty good. So, a couple things we could have done, like I said, we could have just added some urethane to this, made a little mold, poured some urethane, just put some Bondo on it. But, you know, since this is a nice piece of equipment, we want to keep it nice. So we're going to go ahead and put a nice piece of brass on it and shingle it, okay? So that's how we're going to go about doing it. I could probably silver solder, even though the pattern is aluminum. and we're putting brass on her. It should be able to silver solder, okay? Now, we got this cleaned up a little bit. What I'll do is, once we cut these pieces out, I have a 50/50 glue. There's different name brands. I can't remember which one I got. 50/50 glue. We'll glue that. Once we get them cut to size, we're going to glue them on, let it sit cure. Then we'll drill some holes, and then how we secure this so that it's not going to come off is we use escutcheon pins, brass escutcheon pins. Got a box of those here. There's brass escutcheon pins, okay. All right, that's another thing. Keep your eyes open for these things. A lot of people will melt them down. They're brass, but these things come in use. So it's like a little rivet. We're going to basically be riveting this on here. Okay, so I'll show you how to do it. There's a head on these things. We're going to discard the head on them, and I'll show you how and why we're going to do that. This is actually part of a pattern. It doesn't, these end pieces kind of look like a core print, you know, so guy was looking at these things, and like a foundry guy, you took this into the foundry, I'd be looking for a core box because those things look like core prints on them, but they're not. They're actually part of the pattern. They're going to be part of the casting. So we don't want that little lump of the head sticking up. All right, so I'll show you how we get around it. This isn't drying up, so what you can do, take your air nozzle. And you just got to make a little template here too. Anyhow, I'm going to get a couple things going here. Hang tight. Morning, everybody. It's the next day. Kind of went in and cooked dinner. Ended up eating that, and I just kind of whooped for the rest of the day. Anyhow, we're back out in the shop this morning. These things had plenty of time to glue on here. So the next step is we're going to pin these on with some brass escutcheon pins. Okay. Like I said, I've been using these pins to do this kind of stuff. So I had those out. It's number 52 drill. If you guys see some brass pins that are a little bit bigger or whatever, just use that, just use an according drill. Just make sure the drill's a little bit smaller, okay, in diameter. All right, so we're gonna do this now. I'm gonna drill these holes. We're gonna pin these things and scarf them down a little bit. One of the tricks you do is when you put this, I'm gonna use my electric drill. You can use a cordless drill. This is just something I have. It's called a high-speed drill with a number 52 drill. You want that thing going pretty good. So you only have to put the drill out accordingly, because if you have this smaller drill sticking way out, you're going to have a tendency to bend it and break it. All right, you don't want to do that. Okay, to get started here, another good thing too, always have, and this is the same thing, you use candle wax, whatever, beeswax. You ever see a chunk of beeswax, grab it, because we're going to use this for a lube, okay? All right, so first thing I want to do, I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to spot this a few places. And this is smaller, it's a smaller piece. So, you know, we got the glue on there. I mean, literally the glue would probably hold this on for the amount of molds that we got to make with this. Like I said, I want this thing to last, so we're going to pin it too, okay? 4 is good enough. I'm just going to do in each corner. Probably 2 of them would be good enough. You know, do accordingly. The other thing you could do with this, but they are smaller than I have done in the past, like bigger, thicker pieces of metal that I've had to shingle like 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch, whatever. I'll drill and tap those. We'll put a flathead screw in there and then Bondo, you know, the holes up. All right, and that'll be good enough. So all we're going to do is here is I got a little prick mark on here, and we're going to drill these holes and pop the pin in. Okay. Oh, look at that, that popped off, but no big deal. We can, I have this one started, so it's not a big thing. That's kind of what I was afraid of a little bit. Made sure I didn't clean this up that good. Obviously I didn't. All right, so I'm gonna take a pin. These are a little bit longer. You can cut them down a little bit, but we're gonna go ahead and just jam these things in. Okay, and this hole actually is a little bit looser than what I would like. So we got it down to the bottom. Okay, this is sticking up a little bit. So I only want like maybe a 1/16, a little bit less than a 1/16 of this pin sticking up. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer here. All right, so I got this pin, it's sticking up quite a bit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna clip it off. Side cutters, keep that little bit of brass we're gonna melt down later. And we just peened it out there, okay? So what that's gonna do is just kind of open that piece of brass, and we smashed it and expanded that brass up to fill that hole and you know, secure this down on here. So I'm going to do all the rest of these things, but that's how we do it, and then I'll show you where we're going to go from there. Hang tight, guys. All right, this particular one we're working on right here, it's in a corner. The patterns, or part of the pattern I should say, is a little bit close to here. So we're just gonna use a punch and pin it over here. I'll show you how that does. Okay, there's all you got to do right there. Okay, all right, so I'm going to do all of these, pin them all down here, and then we'll go from the next step there. Okay, hang tight, guys. Okay, so now we're done pinning these pieces down on here. All right, another thing that I thought of as I was doing this too. One of the things you can do, you can actually, I could have pre-drilled all the brass first on the drill press, which probably would have been a good idea because the brass is a little bit harder than the aluminum, obviously, you know, so it's been easier to do that. Then what you can do is you can countersink the piece that you're putting on a little bit, the piece of brass. Countersink that a little bit, that way when the pin starts spreading out, it kind of creates its own head. And like I said yesterday, the reason I want to keep these heads on here is because this is actually part of the pattern that's going to be the castings. I don't want those bumps on the casting. Okay. Now, if it was a core print, we could go ahead, pin them with the regular pins, just leave the heads on, and it wouldn't be a big deal because it's a core print. All right. But since it's a pattern, we're gonna grind these things down. I'll take my die grinder. We'll die grind these down a little bit. So I'm going to switch over to the other camera real quick here. And what we'll do is I'll show you up close what we got to do next here. So what we're going to do next, you can see this little crack in here. So obviously that's going to affect our molding here. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to fill that full of Bondo. And then all these have to be rounded off too. So all the corners of the pieces I put in have to be rounded over also. So we'll do that with the die grinder as we're going along too. They're not going to have to be perfect. All this is to pick up the radius of the rail. But if you can remember, we didn't put this all the way up to the top of the rail. So it's just basically we're just adding a little bit here, to make it a little bit beefier and to make it a little bit more of a drill surface so that they can drill. Put some bolts in there, drill some holes and put some bolts in, okay? So it's not a huge deal, okay? So next what I'm going to do, I'm going to Bondo all these cracks up, let it sit for a little bit, and then we're going to get the die grinder out. We'll die grind it off. If I got a lot of Bondo on any surfaces, what I'll end up doing is we'll take die grinder, do that, but mostly I'm going to do that by hand, okay? And then we'll round some corners. And then that part's going to be all done. The next part I'll show you too is they want parts of these track rounded off a little bit. We're just going to use riffler files for that because it's not going to be that much. We could use a pencil grinder, the die grinder pencil grinder, but like I said, it's not a big thing. Actually, it's a deal where some guys want this done, some guys don't want it done. I'm just going to do one to show you guys, how to use the riffler, and, it's a little bit more delicate of a job, okay? So hang tight, guys. I can put some Bondo in this thing, and then we'll go from there, all right? Hang tight. Okay guys, the Bondo's all ready to go. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to just take my die grinder, got a nice angle grinder. I'm going to grind off the tops of the pins with this, and I'm going to do a real quick light dusting of the Bondo on here, and then what we'll do is I'll just take some sandpaper and sandpaper it, okay? Like I say, usually, you usually use emery cloth. Like I say, it's so much regular sandpaper out. So, that's another thing to look for when you're in garage sales and all that kind of stuff. All guys have emery cloth. So, all right, so the other thing we're going to do too, I told you we're going to get the rifflers out. This is actually a little bit more of a job than I was thinking it was going to be with the rifflers. So I got a little bit bigger files out, and what I am going to do, I am going to use my little pencil grinder, grind part of it out, and then we're going to finish it with rifflers. But rifflers, they come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes. Basically, here's some, just, they got mostly, a lot of them have curves on them. That's a nice flat one there. You got some nice little hook ones. Too, these things actually, too, you can use these later. Most, these are all just round ones. Usually die grinder people, or die grinders, die finishers use these things in that, but they come in handy. Here in the pattern shop too a lot. So what you can use those for too is, remember, a lot of the file steels, really good steel, you can actually make hook scribes out of these things. You can do make some little chisels, little gouges out of these things. They're pretty cool. So once they're done, they're real dull. You can't use them as files anymore. You can repurpose them, okay? So what I get doing is We're going to die grind these things down a little bit, and we're going to do some hand sanding. That part of this project will be done. And then, like I said, there's 3 spots on here on each pattern that I got to we're just going to slope them down a little bit with some files here. So, and then this project will be done. I'm going to take it up to the iron foundry tomorrow, and hopefully, we'll get some castings within a couple of weeks, and this project will be done. This pattern's probably been sitting here a good 8 months, 10 months, something like that. So it's that's one of the things with me. Unfortunately, I'm pretty busy. So what happens is, out of sight, out of mind, things sit around a lot. I don't get to them, and I'm finally getting to this. Train guys are kind of like, hey, come on, we want to start using this stuff. So hopefully we'll get that. And like I said, I'm going to take this up to the foundry. I was going to help him with these. He said, just give me the pattern. I'll just do them, because he knows I got some stuff I got to take care of now too. So, like I said too, I don't think he's too into me filming up there too. So, anyhow, all you got to do is die grind these down and get her done. Okay, that's all that is. We'll do a little sanding on that by hand. And we're gonna take these, just do a little rough grind here. We'll get them close and then do them by hand. Okay, that's all she wrote with that. I'm gonna do a little bit of hand sanding with this thing. Real quick, I'll show you what I'm gonna do with the die grinder. All I'm gonna do is use my pencil grinder. I got it all set up. Get you a little closer up here. All right, all we're gonna do is do a little die grinding on this thing, and then a little filing to fine tune it. This project will be done. Okay, there, I roughed this out. So next what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my file, and I'm gonna file it, and in doing it with the file, is we're gonna make it a little bit more straight, because the cutter I used on the die grinder, it's just like a little round cutter, so I didn't, it's kind of gonna be wavy, right? So basically what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make that all nice and straight, clean it up really good. There's some radiuses in the corner. And what we're going to do with those is we're going to use one of the rifflers that's got the radius in there, and we'll radius or file a radius in there. Real simple. Just take your thing. It's take your file. And file is nice and straight here. All right, and you can see where it's taken. I think you can see. Hopefully, you can see it on the video here. It's just taking the high spots off, and we're just getting down and just getting it straighter. Now this doesn't have to be flush with that piece of brass. Kind of booger this up a little bit. We'll clean this up a little bit. Straighten that up, but that's all it is. So that's basically like, like I say, when you hand plane a lot of times, So I can use the sander, but it's going to be wavy. So if you take the hand plane, you're going to make that nice, straight, smooth, and that's what we want pattern making, right? So that's why I took this. We'll finish it up. That's all you got to do on that. I got to do 3 more spots here, and I'm done, all right? A little bit more than 3 spots. A couple spots, do a little hand sanding. So we're going to wrap this project up for you. I don't want to keep this video too long. Probably is. So we'll wrap this thing up today. Next project, I'll try to get you up to the foundry. Like I said, I got to start doing some of those motorcycle round parts. Contemplating doing a little gating job on there. Got a couple projects of my own I want to get going. I got some gating jobs on those. I'll show you that. And a couple other little patterns I got to do. So we'll get together with you in another week, hopefully. Get another video out. Until then, I appreciate everybody that's subscribing with me. See if you can get some of your buddies to sign up with me. I'd appreciate. Push that like button as much as you can. Let's keep this stuff going. I want to help teach you guys some more stuff about pattern making. So with that, everybody have a good one out there. And on top of that, stay safe.